and welcome to the Monoplaza F1 podcast. As always, I'm your host, Emily today, and this week I am coming to you live from somebody else's house. Sorry, it's not mine. Okay, doesn't matter. Anyways, this episode I'm going to be covering the Las Vegas Grand Prix. Now, at the time of recording, there's not that many days until the Qatar Grand Prix, right? By the way, it has been said many times, it'll continue to be said, but the schedule and where things go on the F1 calendar still don't make sense. So it made a little bit of sense when it went Brazil, Las Vegas, but now we're going Las Vegas, Qatar, Abu Dhabi. Anyways, it doesn't matter. Las Vegas Grand Prix, and what a race that was. If you are a McLaren fan, come back to us. Get away from that ledge. I don't know. I don't know how McLaren has managed to make this as complicated or more complicated than it needed to be. Frankly, they are somehow managing to snatch defeat from the jaws of it. It's so simple. This could have been wrapped up. This could have been done a long time ago. Instead, they're entertaining and they're letting Max Verstappen continue to be Max Verstappen. And remember, I said at the beginning of the season, underestimate him if you will. Max Verstappen is now within a race win of getting the lead. He is tied points wise with Oscar Piastri at 366. Of course, Oscar, I think because he has more race wins than Max, is in the lead, even though they have a tie. It doesn't matter. Lando's got 390. He is 24, like I said, 24 points ahead. So essentially, all Lando has to do in Qatar is outscore Max by 2 points. That's it. It seems fairly easy. Just he gets 2 points more than Max and he will win. I am sitting here a couple days removed from the race thinking there's no way it's going to happen. My faith in McLaren has waned. I started the year, who knows, saying like, hey, who knows who's going to win. I am now at the point of the year where, hey, it went by super fast, but also my faith is just gone, right? I started the year again. I know I've said that a bunch of times already, but I started the year thinking, okay, this Oscar Piastri's here. Oscar. And he started the season in Australia kind of wonky, but he managed to bring himself up. And then obviously many people have talked about the decline of Oscar. He has not had a podium, I believe, since Italy. The result being that he lost his lead in the championship and now is tied for second or in third place, however you want to do it. And it has some people asking the question, is McLaren going to ask Oscar to play the team game? I have one of my followers say that if I'm Oscar and McLaren ask me, hey, we need to play a team game, we need to be rear guard or whatever you want to call it for Lando, that would mean that McLaren essentially would have lost Oscar, right? I completely understand that statement. However, at this point, McLaren has to do what McLaren has to do, and if doing this will give one of their drivers a legitimate shot at winning the World Driver Championship, so be it. I feel terrible for Oscar. I have to remind myself, I guess, that Oscar is only in his third year. I know a lot of people have said it, but it's definitely not the poise that he was showing early on, right? Early in the season, you absolutely forgot that Oscar was somebody who was only in his third year, full stop. Um, and so we shall see. On the other side, you have a lot of people saying that this is going to be a manufactured championship. I don't completely understand what they mean by that, except to say that I think in their minds, what they think is this is the FIA helping Max get closer to winning a title and helping Max eventually win the title by allowing certain things to happen. So that they're thinking the penalty in Mexico that Max didn't really get for doing what he did? Or in retrospect, should Spain have been a disqualification for Max? Those little tiny things adding up, leading to potentially a manufactured uh, final Abu Dhabi race where it's once again since 2021 uh, drama, the final race. Is it manufactured? I have no idea. That's neither for me to decide nor for me to care. All I care about, frankly, Lando Norris just has to score two more points than Max Verstappen. Game over. That's it. The fact that they have let him hang around and do this for as long as they have, again, McLaren snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. 2 points. That's all that's needed. On the flip side, hey, congratulations to Max Verstappen for winning the Las Vegas Grand Prix. Last year, of course, he was crowned champion at that race. He didn't win the race, but he had enough points to mathematically eliminate everybody else from contention. Great. This year, it didn't happen because, of course, McLaren. Um, by the way, I'm critical of McLaren. I do like McLaren. I disagree with some of the decisions and strategies that they've made throughout the season. I still like McLaren. Still a team that obviously had the tools to, at a bare minimum, win the constructors championship. And I know the constructors championship is important for a team. I don't know if it's super important for a lot of fans, unless you're just a diehard, McLaren fan. Okay, shouts out to you. But in any case, I'm being overly critical of McLaren because I'm just baffled, along with everybody else, as to how they've let it go this far. But I digress. Congratulations to Max Verstappen. He got this victory when he needed to. Some people will point at the fact that he finished the race 20 seconds ahead of Lando Norris, and you could take the argument one of two ways. You could say, see, Max has a rocket ship, or he has a car that's not slow. Okay, absolutely true. The car is not slow. But really, for me, that was just evidence of what eventually would lead to the disqualification of both McLaren cars, which is their cars were riding too low. They realized too late that they potentially were going to have too much plank wear and could get disqualified. So they started telling Lando, and I don't know if they told Oscar because I wasn't listening to that radio, but they told Lando, hey, we need you to lift and coast at these turns. Too little, too late. Honestly, George Russell almost caught up with him towards the end there, but he ran out of laps to do so. And so the story out of Las Vegas obviously became two things. One, McLaren's disqualifications, and how they somehow managed to make such a huge mistake. And then the other was, of course, Max Verstappen getting that W. So what does it mean moving forward onto Qatar, which is going to be this weekend in a couple of days? Again, McLaren needs to button it up and, in my opinion, do everything they need to make sure and secure a Lando win. Now, I don't think that Lando, if I'm correct, I don't think he can win the championship by winning the sprint race. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that that cannot happen. Okay, great. Um, and the sprint is another reason why this season or why this race could be complicated for McLaren. Because as we all know, in a sprint, you get one free practice, then it's on to sprint qualifying, then you have the sprint, and then you're getting ready to do your normal qualifying for the GP that's going to be happening on Sunday. Uh, and this format obviously doesn't allow for any kind of tweaking of the cars or checking in practice, hey, we need to go with this setup or this setup. Um, so I don't know. I believe that the conditions are more favorable towards McLaren, um, but we shall see. Again, if anybody is ready or used to this pressure and who has faced this type of pressure before, it's Max Verstappen. If there's anybody who is probably new to this pressure, it's Lando Norris. And I can't believe that I'm saying that, right? At the beginning of the year, and apologies to that man, I was definitely making statements as to like, hey, this guy can't do it. He's got a lot of things going on mentally, blah, 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 this, that, and the third. And I don't say the mentally part is like a terrible thing, but rather he was dealing with a lot of things early on top of still getting used to the car. And lo and behold, Lando got hot when it mattered the most and just continued victory after victory, podium after podium. Uh, so maybe he is used to this pressure. I know it's not his first year. Of course, this is not the same type of pressure. And so we'll see. What I'm trying to say for Max, it should be easier because he's used to this type of pressure. For Lando, it might be a little bit challenging, right? Um, the point. I don't know what's going to happen when the weekend starts, when it finishes. What I am hoping, admittedly, is that Lando gets the job done and he wins. Again, for me, it doesn't matter. Lando, Oscar, Andrea, Kimi Antonelli, it literally could be anybody as long as it's not Max Verstappen. No hate to that man. I just can't do it. Can't, can't. Probably never will be. I mean, my respect because he is a great driver, is super talented. I just don't want to see a Max Verstappen World Driver Championship. Sorry. What I am more excited about, probably than anything, is the fact that we are now that much closer to ending these regulations and these sets of regulations. The ground effect era has not been great. We were overpromised and we got underdelivered, right? So they overpromised and underdelivered about the quality of the racing and the overtakes, and that just never materialized. Instead, what we got was uh, 2 or more years of Red Bull dominance, more or less, especially 2023 was crazy Red Bull dominant. Then we got 1 year, which was 24, was a super exciting year because a bunch of people kept winning. We had multiple race winners. That was awesome. And then we got 25, which started out as McLaren, 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 McLaren. Red Bull interspersed with that every once in a while. Mercedes, a little dash of Mercedes in there. We got some great podiums with a couple rookies getting on there with Hajar and Antonelli. And then, of course, we got the Silverstone podium of Nico Hulkenberg, which is his first one in F1. Okay, great. Love to see it, sure. But other than that, the season and this set of regulations definitely under delivered, right? And so I'm excited to see what happens in 2026. Will we return to Mercedes engine dominance? Is the car going to be somehow the same speed as F2 cars, which is something that somebody has said? I have no idea. The point is, overtaking should be better now, racing should be better now, whatever. But these regulations were trash. They were a disaster. So yeah, there's that. Quickly covering Ferrari because I have to, as someone who is following the team closely because my favorite driver is on the team. Uh, Ferrari, yeah, I have no idea. You have a Charles Leclerc who is complaining about how, something is wrong with this car because racing in the wet used to be one of my strong suits. You go back to 2019. And now, for whatever reason, in this car, is just not good. And that's been the enigma of Ferrari this season. They were exposed and have been exposed for a long time about, like, hey, we have to make some managerial changes to how we run things and how we do things. Um, and what was exposed was the fact that the team is not willing to do those things. And the team is going to continue struggling until they decide to make changes to parts of the team that clearly are not working. From the engineering to trackside to development of the car to listening to driver input. And by the way, yes, I am a Lewis Hamilton fan, but I want to make it very clear it's not just Lewis Hamilton that's been saying that the car is not good. It's your number one fan, driver, tifosi, loyalist, Charles Leclerc, who has also been saying this car is not fast. And I think that for Charles, he's seeing his prime years waste away, while his counterparts, Lando Norris, is fighting for a championship. Max Verstappen has won multiple ones. George Russell has been getting race wins this year and has been consistently performing. Charles is mired in mediocrity in Ferrari. Not that he's a mediocre driver, but the fact that the team seemingly only focus on getting a couple race wins and calls it Yes, this is great. Uh, it's probably not good. The fact that Ferrari uh, finished P2 last year, I've talked about this multiple times, but decided this year, hey, we're going to change 99% of the car, and that's going to be great because who knows? Who knows what they were thinking when they did that? But the point is, Ferrari had a race where Charles Leclerc somehow was able to qualify P9 in the rain. That was a crazy qualifying for this race, and was able to take that car as far as P5 on the road and then P4 once the McLarens were disqualified. Cool. And then you had a Lewis Hamilton who wasn't necessarily given the best information or wasn't given accurate information about, hey, you need to push this lap, and started the race P19 in spite of qualifying P20. Started P19 because, of course, Yuki started from the pits. Lewis had a great stint on the hard tire and was able to get all the way up to uh, P10, P8, I think, at the max. And then when they brought him in and put some mediums on him, not only was it a slow stop, which again, pit stops are an anomaly, but it's when they pit people that matters, right? Lewis comes out in the medium tires on the second stint and just started to fall away. You see, once again, the salver, the Ferrari engine powered salver of Nico Hulkenberg being able to create a substantial gap between himself and the Ferrari behind him, which once again was Lewis Hamilton, right? At one point, Lewis understood that the pace was just not there, told his race engineer, hey, just don't even worry about giving me lap times. I don't have any pace. It's not going to happen. So you had a race where both Ferraris once again left it being feeling super frustrated. And obviously coming out of it, questions were asked about, hey, are you at least excited about next year? At least on Lewis Hamilton's part, it seemed that maybe not so much. Charles Leclerc even probably more so than Lewis. And I'm saying that only because at time of this recording, there are rumors coming out that Charles Leclerc is going to give Ferrari a couple races next year, and if it doesn't work out, he is going to be signing with Aston Martin. So imagine an Aston Martin with Charles Leclerc, Adrian Newey, and I guess now potentially a Christian Horner that is potentially going to be on this team. I don't know. I'm only mentioning that, by the way, that counts as my only Aston Martin mention of this episode. And I also mentioned Sauber slash Audi slash Kick Stake, whatever their team name is. I mentioned both of those, so nobody can say anything now. But in any case, Ferrari is in shambles, has been in shambles. People have talked about, it took Michael Schumacher 4 years to make that team a championship, or before he became a champion at Ferrari. True. The key difference that, again, a lot of people point out, and I'm mentioning Michael Schumacher because, again, it's a situation where you have a multiple world driver championship come onto your team with the expectation that they bring that winning mentality to the team. Great. In Schumacher's case, it took him 4 years, but he brought his own people and made wholesale changes to the team. It worked out fantastic for Ferrari. In Lewis Hamilton's case, he comes to the team, didn't bring, probably because he couldn't, all the people that he needed to bring to make the team even better. And you've seen a team being given feedback about the performance of the car, being given feedback about how to change the car, being given feedback about how to change the culture. It is falling on deaf ears. Case in point, you have not heard from Ferrari that Ricardo Adami is not going to be there next year. I'm bringing this up because at a bare minimum, you see a trackside engineer that is unable to give his driver the information necessary to win the race or to perform well in the race, right? And it's been happening since Sebastian Vettel. It happened with Vettel, it happened with Sainz, now it's happening with Hamilton, right? If the teams can't take stock and look at just how this engineer or trackside engineer is performing and say we need to make this change and continues to have this guy on there, it doesn't bode well for anybody else. So we shall see what happens with Ferrari. In any case, I for one am excited for the season to come to an end. If you have been a lifelong Ferrari fan, I don't know how you do it. That's crazy work. Um, yeah. And so that's pretty much it for me, it is an extremely short episode because it is midweek and we got to shift our focus to guitar. I left Vegas seemingly befuddled by what the F McLaren was doing. I left Vegas feeling like Max Verstappen again has a legitimate shot at claiming his fifth championship, and I left feeling with a feeling of just like frustration with Ferrari and what's going to happen there. Um, as we head into the final two races of the year, it'll be obviously interesting to see how it all plays out. But I don't know. I'm not holding my breath. Again, Lando Norris only has to score two more points than Max Verstappen to get this dub, and then we can call it a day. All right. So yeah, that is it. Again, thanks for tuning in. If you have, if you made it this far, please don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. It costs you nothing. As always, don't forget to tell your mommies, your papis, your tios, your tias, abuelos, abuelas, vecinos. That's neighbors if you don't speak Spanish. For the Monoplaza F1 podcast, this is Emir Tre. Peace.